scientific evidence for me to be into it or believe in it. That's all I'm
Oh, I
saying.
understand. I'm not really into it either. I just don't. I guess I don't. I don't like either extreme. Where you were just saying people are like, oh, you're a Libra, you do this, and this. Like that's bullshit. Also, people that say like, oh, it's just baseless, absolute nonsense. Has no like, you guys are all insane. Fucking, you're dumb. That's stupid too. They're both equally dumb as shit to me.
Oh, I get you. But what I find interesting though is the TED Talk.
Oh yeah,
I do
I
find
didn't
that
keep
strange.
linking stuff.
Oh,
There's links with like, so if you look at Egyptian culture and then you look at like Mayan culture, so these two things that were way across the world from each other, right? And they both did hieroglyphics on their buildings and whatnot. There's so many similar like symbols and concepts they had and stories, which
well, I feel like I've seen stuff on it, but aren't origin stories typically pretty similar, like across?
a lot of them, like if you
I
read,
mean,
you mean like like cosmic origin, like theology basically, or
theology, like
yeah,
yeah. As
yeah.
far, I
There's
mean, even when you're looking at differences in location or
yeah, there's tons of similar stories.
yeah.
Lots of symbols that they use to describe the same things, like snakes and eggs, and water is found in every creation story. Water, like talking about, and it's used usually in a similar way. The primordial like state of the universe is almost always considered to as water, or like in Christian, it's whatever, God moved on the waters, blah blah blah. Like every single one. Egyptians.
What was your name again? The guy with the cool headset.
Yubi.
UV, yeah.
He's Sagittarius, he said.
The one interesting thing, I know I want to get off astrology, but I just thought about this. One interesting thing I saw about astrology is they have this theory about when the planet moves into a certain section, it's like it's called your houses. So it's like your personality, or kind of like your life, is divided up into 12 sections, things that you kind of like focus on. So it could be like one is number one, your one house is self-identity. Number two is like, I think your, what is it? Two, I think, is like your something to do with your outer identity, more to do with your relationships identity, something like that. And it goes on and on and on. And each planet, if it's passing through that section, has an effect on you in the way that you view that slice. So like, if let's say like, if I look back at my life and remember myself from, let's say, like 12 to 15 years old, and think about the stuff that I was thinking about, and I was like, oh wow, like Saturn was going through my fifth house at that time, and the fifth house was all about, I'm just guessing here, I need to look them up, but it's like, let's say fifth house was all about relationships or career or something, I don't know, like something. And I can think about, whoa, like all my thoughts during that time, everything that I was focused on for like those 2 years was that was my life at the time. Like that's all I was focused on in my thoughts. Or like, it's just interesting. Like my girlfriend and I were looking at it one day, and it was like when Saturn came into her one house a few years ago, Saturn's known for constricting. It's basically like they always call it karma, the planet of karma. So it brings a lot of things around. Her life went to shit for those like 2 or 3 years that Saturn was through her life. Her dad died, like all kinds of stuff, one after another. Her life just went to crap. And then right after Saturn left, everything turned around. Like her life finally started going back up again. And then Saturn entered my sign next, and like the first week that Saturn had been in my sign, I got like 2 tickets, 2 blah, blah, blah. And so like, and when all this was happening, I knew nothing about astrology. So I wasn't like making this come true in my head. So I'm not saying it's because Saturn was in there. I'm just saying it is an interesting correlation to see how like, okay, they say these planets affect your thoughts on these certain areas of your life. And then if you look back at your life and think about your thoughts during that time period, like where were you at and what was I thinking of? And then look at the planet, if it was affecting that slice. It's just kind of interesting. But yeah, sorry, that was like a long ramble. But I think there's like some like decent stuff into it. I just haven't really looked into it.
No, it was a good discussion. You sort of made me question it or like see it from a different perspective. So I'm glad you did.
I think the moon sign is about the sun. The sun sign is kind of like about your ego or whatever, how you present yourself. And the moon sign is more about your instincts and your reactions. So it's like, whoever the person is that just said Aquarius is the moon sign, what's your sun sign? Aries. So your moon sign, so Aries is a fire sign, right? And then Aquarius is a water sign. Let me see. I don't know. I'd have to read more into it. The thing that I've found that I kind of like, that kind of interests me about astrology, the only thing is the whole house thing I was talking about, where you have like 12 houses and it's different areas that you focus on. And when a planet is in that house, each planet has a different effect on that slice of your life. So like Jupiter, Saturn is like the planet of like karma and restriction and time. And then Jupiter is the planet of like expansion and bounty. So if Jupiter enters, say, like your work life section during that year or whatever, you might just have an awesome like work year, or you get promotions, or you make more money that year, or whatever it is. Like you can see if it correlates. I'm not saying that will happen. It's stuff that I've wanted to look at.
Yui, I made a natal chart report now, but I've gotten so much information and I have no idea how to interpret it. So maybe you can help. There's like tropical, Placidus orb, and like sun, moon, Saturn, blah, 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 and lots of coordinates.
Can you link it? I wonder if I can. Can you?
I don't know. I think it'll just, link you to the...
Yeah.
Yeah, I can probably just
share your screen.
Yeah.
So like your sun. So it's saying. So you're a Libra.
Yep.
Libra ENTP. That's what my best friend is. A Libra ENTP.
Yeah, and I think you're probably INTP, maybe Enneagram 1 or 9. 9?
Yeah, 9.
That's what my
I
best
think.
friend is.
Oh God, we're repeating
Oh, sorry.
infinitely. You're good.
Fucking Inception.
Sagittarius moon.
How do you read that?
So it's this is like a snapshot of when he was born. This is where every single planet was. So the moon was in Sagittarius, Mercury was in Libra, Venus was in Scorpio, Mars was in Cancer, blah blah blah, all the way down.
Does this have any relevance?
Yeah, scroll down a little bit. Okay, keep going.
That
So-
looks like it would be the same as mine or something.
So it's gonna say. So it describes Sun in Libra.
Sun and Libra.
Oh, wow.
Libra natives are generally thought to be sociable, somewhat intellectual souls. They have an almost innocent way about them that makes them very approachable. Generally quite eager to come.
So scroll down. That's or I mean, if you want. That's like-
I can read this on my own.
That's what you're gonna get if you just look up kind of like what Libra is, basically. I mean, that's
Okay, seems like I have some reading to do, but how do I interpret all the ascendant and like degrees of stuff?
you have to read like what an ascendant is. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot to it. Like,
This rabbit hole goes much deeper than I first thought, and I like it. Yeah, but that's cool.
somebody's putting up a bunch of little points.
My moon signs. Where did I see my moon sign?
Your moon was Sagittarius. His moon sign was Sagittarius.
Does not thinking us frivolous. What does that mean? Frivolous. Characterized by a lack of seriousness or sense. Dilettante in love. Easily swayed by. What the fuck? This is actually pretty accurate. And I'm not even joking. I can relate to this.
I have this like really weird abstract kind of like, I don't even know what to call it, but like not theory, just like kind of this vision of the planets and stars and stuff, like the whole universe. And it's like, if like basically like we know light is information, like we know like light is information because, or like light is the only thing that allows us to take in, or it's our main mode of taking in like a lot of information, everything that we see around us, blah blah blah. But I think like light, I think of like the sun and like the planets and everything as these giant like nodes, like these giant transmitters of information that are like communicating, like more than just these big objects like whirling in space. Like I just feel like I just think the archetypes and like even this typology that we talk about on here.
How the fuck is this shit so accurate? More than anything, lunar Sagittarius have a need for personal space and freedom. That's why I've been troubling with like relationship, because I struggle with commitment and shit like that. And like when I